have to do this. That's kind of okay. So that's why we.
If I could piggyback just briefly off of that, I don't even know if I'm allowed to recommend books, but
for sure, you're allowed to do whatever.
Since you guys are talking about facts versus opinions and that one show that I really, really liked, I want to recommend a book, Harvest of Empire: A History of Latinos in America by Juan Gonzalez. And I was listening to him actually on a
Democracy Now?
I want to say it was NPR. I could be wrong. It was somewhere, listening to all of my liberal stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And he was talking about how if you look at colonial powers, where people have migrated from, he's like, there's a reason Jamaicans will immigrate to England. There's a reason a lot of Indians will immigrate to. There's a reason a lot of people in Latin America will immigrate here. I mean, like, I don't even know if people know about the Monroe Doctrine, but it's like our government has specifically said to other people in the world, you leave the Western Hemisphere to us. Right. Do not come here. We will do what we want. Right. So it's like you said, if that means destabilizing a government because the government isn't doing what's in our interest, not the interest of their own people, then, yeah, we're going to shut you down. I mean, that's why we hated Cuba so much after Fidel Castro got rid of Batista, you know? So it's like we have a history of doing this. They overthrew a democratically elected Shah in Iran in the 70s, you know? And I think you did, to your point, you spoke about that. I mean, like, the CIA finally admitted it. But I read that in a book called, like, Blood and Oil years ago. Right. And I remember telling James about it, like, 10 years ago when we first started dating. And I was like, it's true. And then when it came out, I was like, see, told you.
Right. Well, yeah, and I mean, like you were saying, a lot of people experience those things firsthand, you know, like in those countries. So they know. And what I can say, if you continue to close the door to other people, all you're doing is radicalizing people, because someone's going to lose their family member on the way and they go like, why didn't you help us? Then, you know, this is unfair. And, you know, you're radicalizing a bunch of people to really hate the country, right? When it's not the country, it's just a government run by usually interest of like corporations and things like that. So it's like, take that minute to like
direct reflection of U.S. foreign policy. And now the chickens are coming home to roost. Right. To quote Malcolm X.
Oh, I like that.
I want to take a point that you were making about the slandering and kind of side road that with something that I was reading about. You have elections coming up, and there's been some nasty campaigns. So I have in Arkansas a radio ad this week suggested that white Democrats might start lynching black men. In New York, a congressman's supporters drew attention to his black rival's history as a rapper. In California, Ohio, and Virginia, candidates and their supporters cast their opponents as terrorists. In Pennsylvania, a Republican state senator threatened to stomp all over his Democratic rival's face with golf spikes. And my favorite, in Arizona, a lawmaker's 6 siblings urged voters not to reelect their Republican brother. Have you guys seen that one? This is an ad.
No, actually,
there's an ad where
I haven't.
These people are they're going through these people and they're like, this candidate is really bad. Don't vote for this candidate. And at the end, they go, and trust us, that's our brother.
Oh, yeah. I think I heard it on the... That's crazy.
But the way that the election...
They're turning into like a...
It's getting super nasty.
Right.
It's getting to the point where there's no longer talking about what are the topics. What are my issues? What are you voting for? Instead, you're getting... Don't vote for this person. He's a liar. Or she's this bad person, or whatever that is.
Right.
It's getting ugly.
Yeah, I think what you generally see, and maybe I'm a little biased because I am a registered Democrat, although I think I may become an independent soon, but that's another thing altogether. I think that you find that Republicans generally tend to play dirty when it comes to political ads, and not to say that Democrats don't do it as well, but I mean, they hide behind the fact that it's America first, and we want to be conservative, and we just want America to be great again, and we want us to go back to the way that, you know, things used to be when everything was great and traditional and wonderful.
And using this rhetoric that's like, of course, everybody wants the same thing, but
we all want families to be okay, right? Like, everybody, we're good on that. But that's what they do.
It's a dog whistle, you know. It's like, we know what you are really trying to say. We know the message that you're really trying to convey. We know who you're trying to talk to, and they like to bash the left for using identity politics. But then at the same time, it's like you throw all this dog whistle stuff out there that the people who support you know.
Right. And it always turns down to like, this is what I understand. When I hear, like, if you hear a politician and you're not really putting time and effort into knowing about those things and like what's going on.
That's not
then
what people care about.
Yeah, they don't understand that when they hear something like families first. Oh yeah, that's.
I think it was Jim Jeffries that was like, I know those words. I understand those words.
Right, I understand those words. So I'm gonna, that's the guy I gotta vote for. So
I've been following the Ted Cruz, Beto O'Rourke campaigns, and Ted Cruz has just been.
I need white women to vote for, not for Ted Cruz.
We're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about the Kavanaugh movement in this podcast, and I want to touch on that later because it's pretty big what's going on. But with this whole Ted Cruz and Beto O'Rourke, and Cruz is out there just slandering O'Rourke at every possible turn, and O'Rourke says, "You know what? I'm going to be the better man. I want to talk about."
That's what we always do, and then we lose.
Right.
Yeah. That's right.
Right now, he was 9 points behind, and right now he's starting to go on the offensive.
Right.
And is it too little, too late? That's probably the case.
See, that's the thing. I think Republicans like to. It's like I said. It's the dog whistle thing where they don't talk about issues. They talk about the things that they know will inflame their base.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like, oh yeah, we don't want the gays to get married, or there's going to be a transgendered man who's really a fake woman in your bathroom, or
your kids are going to turn gay.
Right. So it's like you said. It's what are the real issues? Can we talk about the economy? Can we talk about foreign policy? Can we talk about fiscal policy, monetary policy? Can we talk about the things that's actually going to benefit us as citizens, as opposed to just, oh yeah, O'Rourke wants, gay women to go in the bathroom with your or whatever it is.
So the answer to your question is unfortunately no, because the think tanks of the Republican Party have realized that the way that they win elections, one, is they hit on the fears of people. Two, they get people on the Democrat side to not vote.
Oh yeah, we have an issue with turnout for sure.
Yeah,
we have an issue
like you mentioned earlier about like I'm Democrat, but I would be independent. I think a lot of us feel like we're put into this. We're like being held hostage because if we don't, you know what I mean. And
it's the lesser of two,
right?
Evils,
I feel like
and that's how I feel.
I feel like if I was in Ohio, I would be a Cleveland Browns fan, but I would be held hostage because I'm in Ohio. Like,
right?
That's exactly. That's like, what else can you do?
I want to like you guys, but you never win. You never like.
I wanted to go back to what you were saying about how dirty it's become. You know, and I think it all boils down to what you were saying earlier. We had a little discussion earlier. When you have the president calling women horseface, when you have all these things all these tweets that are going with the president, like we used to, I mean, no matter where in the world, like the president's supposed to be this icon of like, just righteousness and the best your country can offer, right? Like it's supposed to be the best your country can offer. This like it should be up there. The two people that are like last two standing should be like the best of the best. No matter who won, you're gonna be like, it's cool, like it's. But this is
we'll be all right.
Yeah, we'll be all right. But it's like this. We're at the point where. He can do that, and everybody else is like, all right, well, it's like the purge now,
I think
right?
I think it's a final. I think it's a final pushback from like old white guys, like old conservative white guys, because to your point, liberals, we don't turn out. To your point, sorry, we don't turn out,
right?
And that's the thing. So when you look at the demographics who turn out the most,
right.
it's generally older people,
right.
And most of the Republican base,
right.
are much older people. Right. So if those are the people who are voting more because they're probably retired, it's easy for them to get out on Tuesday and go vote. They don't have to worry about childcare or working or school or, the general liberal demographics like students, people of color, younger people. We have things to do. Not to say that that's an excuse not to go out and vote on Tuesday.
Well, so for the young people out there, you can do the mail ballot. I've already voted. I've turned my ballot in. It's great. I get the ballot at home. I get to go online, research all I want, fill it out, mail it in, and I don't have to worry about Tuesday. I can go to work.
Or early voting is also an option.
Go early vote. That's right.
You can do it any day of the week. I don't think it's open on Sunday, but it's like Monday through Friday, and they're open until 7 o'clock.
Linda, your point is there's no excuse.
No excuse.
To not get out there.
No excuse.
But we should make it a national holiday. Voting day.
I agree.
I think so
I'm just for another day off, but I mean, National Voting Day, just one more issue. I could stand behind for it.
Yeah. This is one thing I can stand 100%.
Right.
That's awesome. There's another piece to what you guys were talking about. I was thinking while you guys are, this is a I guess less hopeful side of my thinking, where it's you were talking about how they don't talk about the talking points, like the actual points, and I know that whenever we have those Facebook battles that I used to partake in,
right.
It always come down to me that at the end of the day, there's the reason nobody talks about the actual issues and things like that, because there's that underlying issue that there is a lot of racism and prejudice and things like that are driving all these things. So of course you can talk to talking points all day long with a person, but when they have a feeling that this is why it's happening, you're never gonna. It never becomes a logical battle.
Oh, yeah. All the Mexicans are gonna steal your job.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
These people and people don't. We talked about the whole thing with racism. It's people don't understand that they can have racist thoughts and not be racist like what they demote.
Not out there hanging people.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
you don't have to be out there
And
hanging
they can
people,
have
but-
racist ideas and racist. We all do at one point or another. We're always evolving as a people,
Everybody's
as a community.
prejudiced.
Right,
Every
exactly.
single person on this earth has some
they-
type of prejudice.
So when you try to tackle that point, because I remember when one of the discussion was on welfare and stuff, and I kind of just unroll this person's arguments down to where it's just you believe certain people are lazy, and this is why you think this, right? And we can discuss the talking points about how it's going to affect the government but at the end of the day, you have a feeling, you have this idea.
I
and
enjoyed
thought.
that podcast too, by the way.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Right? And you're gonna put up these fake arguments because underlying there, you really
I
believe
don't know
that
if they're fake arguments. They have found what they believe to be facts, and they're using those facts as their talking points.
Right.
So they're going to base all their weight onto these ideas, and then they say, well, that's what's true. That's what I truly believe.
Right.
And then you come along, and you're like, no, I have these other facts. You go, well, yeah, but I have my facts. There's no way that you're going to change their mind about those facts.
Yeah.
Right. The best you could do is maybe put a crack in their wall,
right.
just a seed that says maybe your facts aren't quite true.
Right,
But
but I think that's what it boils down to me, that unless they experience that person, they're a person that only can learn from experience.
That's right.
And they're not a person that can learn from thinking about another person's perspective or life, so that they can only know what they experience. So I experience this thing and I see it this way, and that's why I think this, right? And that's all you're gonna get. It's almost like a hard argument to have, because you're talking about two different things. They're actually talking to you about religion, but they're thinking about something else. I don't know how to best put that into the notion.
I think that's the sad part about American education now. I was listening to something the other day, and they were talking about how civics used to be a required course.
Right.
And I had to take civics because I went to a pre-law magnet school, so it was required. But and I don't know if it was on Trevor Noah or just some comedy thing. But they were like, yeah, and then we replaced it with social studies or whatever it was.
Right.
And we stopped teaching people about just the fundamental way
that
government works
Right.
and what it's supposed to do. And not only that, our education system, we don't really value education in this country anymore the way that we're supposed to. So it's I kind of want to push back a little bit when you say, I have these facts and you have those facts. If we're educating people properly, they should be able to interpret the facts the right way. Now, maybe I'm just saying that because, I'm not going to say I'm a trained social scientist, but I learned how to do research. I have a master's degree. It's one of the requirements that you have to, they're like, you need to learn how to do your own research. And if somebody challenges you on this research, you need to say, no, my methodology was good. This was, boom, boom, boom. I used the scientific method. This is how I came to this conclusion.
Right.
It either proved my hypothesis, it disproved my hypothesis. I keep it moving, But people don't know. They don't understand how to do this.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, there is no my fact or your fact. There are facts, and you need to understand the context. Right. And I think you guys hit on that in one of your episodes. It was I think you guys were talking about a welfare queen, and Scotty, I think it was you who said oh yeah, it's a majority white women who are on welfare. When you look at the ratio, and it's that's how it is. But people are just no, the blacks are lazy and the Mexicans are going to steal our jobs and blah blah blah. But
That's what it gets talked about.
But if our education system was better, we could actually teach people to be critical thinkers.
Right.
And we don't have critical thinkers in this country right now because
No.
they voted for Donald Trump.
I have that's where I was saying I have a low, like that's where like the dark part of me. I think that some